Be able to enlighten us on some issues. 901-327-3400. Give us a call if you think you might want to engage with us today. But we're going to get right into it, Brother Talut. And we've decided today we're going to talk a little bit more about religion and how religion comes about. Brother Talut, I want to ask you one quick question before we get started. Is it true what Karl Marx said, and that is religion is the opiate of the people? Is that, you go along with that?
Yeah, by and large, yes. By and large, yes, I do. And but first, let me thank you for having me aboard again.
No problem, anytime.
Your audience for allowing me to address these serious issues. It tends to be a drug. You know, it tends to be a drug, and the addiction rate is very high, but it's one, like all narcotics, for an example, is one that doesn't produce much good if one is not enlightened. Those individuals or people who practice religion, in many cases and many times, they really don't understand what they're actually practicing. And I think that's the fallibility of religion. That's why it's like a drug.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, certainly, because certainly that's what it appears that he means, opiate, short of opium, and we know if you ingest opium, what happens to you, it puts you to sleep.
Yeah,
it relaxes you so much until you almost don't care about anything. So it's a drug, and it's as devastating on the minds of African American people as cocaine or heroin.
Yeah, absolutely.
African American people to sleep. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah,
I get excited.
Yeah, I do too. And the fact is that when you have churches on almost every corner, in almost every city, where almost every African American is or Black American is, you know, our crime rates are high.
Yeah.
Our drug addiction rates are high. Okay, our poverty rates are high.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our academic level is extremely low. Okay, so with so many religious institutions right in our midst, why isn't we doing better as a people?
Mm-hmm. Well, good question. Why are there so many denominations of the Christian religion? They're over, well, Dr. Richmond has cited it on many occasions. I don't know what the figure was, but it's astronomical.
Yeah.
It's safe to say the different denominations of the Christian religion, and we're going to talk about some others as well, is astronomical, these denominations. What does that tell us?
Well, actually that tells us that, it tells me that somewhere in the annals of time, somebody concluded that confusion is better than enlightenment.
Okay.
For the control
Mm-hmm.
and mastery
Mm-hmm.
over the populace. Okay.
Control and power.
And power.
What
So
I heard
yes,
you say.
Absolutely. So if people are truly enlightened,
Mm-hmm.
then religion would have to be taught a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And the summation of it all is that there could possibly be the focus of one way of life.
Okay.
But with the numerous denominations, the numerous practices,
Mm-hmm.
the numerous interpretations of Scripture, you have confusion, and people then become dependent on their own little religious idea,
Mm-hmm.
separate and aside from all the others, as their salvation.
Okay, well, let me ask you. Are you saying that a group of people have gotten together back in the annals of time and agreed and disagreed, or have had a problem at this church with this denomination? Well, so I'm going to leave here, man. I'm going on over here, and I'm going to start my own church, and I'm going to teach you this way. And so we have thousands of minds saying this kind of stuff. I also heard you say confusion. So are you saying that the people who have gotten the upper hand in this political power struggle, they're okay with the confusion because of the hold on power of the people, and that's okay, and the masses of the people accept this confusion, going without any kind of critical examination or raising any kind of question and saying, wait a minute, this does not make sense. Is that
well, yes, it's the flowery discourse that's projected in various sectors of the religion. An example in the super churches. Of course, you know that there's a tremendous amount of competition in those super churches, and like any game that's played, okay, the competition creates an ability to make money. You know, your colors, your team song, you can name all those little things that make a team.
Right.
That an individual individuals feel loyal to.
Right.
And the more loyal they are, the more work they put out. And the more work they put out, the more productive the institution is. And that's the way, unfortunately, that's the way some of the super churches are.
Okay.
They're almost like militaristic.
Okay.
Okay, and they harness a tremendous amount of money out of the black community.
Yeah.
Okay, and I said, that's my pastor. That's my church. These are my colors, and my colors are, the uniforms of the various. Gosh, I lost my word for that one. But anyway, the various colors of uniform that's used in the choir, all those
logos
things.
And all that.
All those things are relevant to rallying up a sense of identity. Okay, and that's where the money is raised at.
Right, so it's primarily a game to raise money and capital, and the bigger churches have the most power to raise the most money. But let me make a statement. I don't know, a couple of years ago, maybe 3, Bishop Desmond Tutu wrote a paper. And one of the things that stood out to me in that paper was that he said that if you're a person who was born in Pakistan or Saudi Arabia, you're more than likely Muslim. If you were born in America, you're more than likely a Christian. So, and his point in that paper was saying that religion must be a thing of tolerance, and what makes one person's religion better than the other person's religion. Because you will hear that, and you will see that. You will see people who are Christians are saying that even you can't even get a panel discussion going on where you comprehensively discuss all religions without some Christian jumping up and saying it's not as good as Christianity. Yeah. And you just heard Dr. Richmond expound on the origin and history of Christianity and highlighting all of those contradictions. But, expound for me.
Well, the thing is, when we're dealing with the American brand of Christianity, okay, which is a unique creature in itself. The American brand of Christianity actually is emboldened in the concept of race superiority. Okay, and that concept is how the African people ended up being slaves to the land. Okay, in their pumping up and falsely pumping up the idea that Noah cursed his Ham and to be black and all that type.
Push the rest of his life in the whole world, blah blah blah.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, that's real in American Christianity.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's one of the reasons why African American people or black people are subjects in this land. Okay, and so what you have is that thinking of Christianity versus the world thinking of the Western Eastern meaning Europe and North Africa and all those places, how they view Christianity. It's quite different. Okay, and so all of those religions beg the oppression and the destruction of black-skinned people.
Okay.
You,
Yeah, I'm with it.
yeah,
And
they all are about their superiority over black-skinned people.
Mm-hmm. Well, we saw that. We don't see as much of it today as we used to. We saw the white, blue-eyed, blonde, long hair flowing down the back, false depiction of the Christ.
Yes.
You know, so.
Yes, absolutely. So
whether we want to accept it or not,
but
that is the truth.
That's the truth. But one of the things I want to make quite clear is this: the difference between Al-Islam or the Muslim thinking and Christianity or the Christian thinking is very, very thin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very thin.
Okay.
If you read the Quran and then read the Bible, you'll see some of the similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and the only thing that makes the biggest difference is Muslims believe Jesus Christ was a prophet.
Okay.
And they do not believe Jesus Christ is God.
Yeah, and I've heard
that's the difference.
Right. Yeah, and I've heard that before. He's listed among the prophet from Muhammad to
yes, just all the other all
we
prophets.
we can throw Dr. King in there.
Yeah, they all are one brotherhood.
Okay. Right. So yeah, that whole thing about Jesus coming from the sky and coming back home this day and that day, people are really foolish to believe in that. But I think I hear you saying that religion is man-made.
Yes, religion is man-made. Absolutely.
Okay.
So no question about that.
So religion is not made by God.
Religion is not made by God.
Right.
Let me be clear about that.
Come on.
Okay. Just let us define religion as a way of life.
Yeah.
Okay, let's accept that.
Well, it's a Roman word, regoleto, or something to regulate one's life.
Okay.
So yeah, you're right.
Okay. Now
you can expand on that.
Right. If we agree, two honorable men agree that religion is defined as a way of life.
Right.
Okay. Then titles in religion means absolutely nothing.
Right. So the question becomes is what is going to be, like you said, two honorable men, our way of life? Are we going to have a good and decent way of life? And we can expand on that for my wife, my children, my uncle, my nieces and nephews, and grandchildren. So that becomes more of a sensible question and a pathway to a more sensible religion. Is that right? Go ahead.
A pathway to a civil society.
Okay.
See, we have to agree on things in order to be what we're told civilized.
Right.
Say civilized is that we know how to get along with each other without any violence and that type of thing.
As social beings.
Right. Okay. Now.
So we can develop a social contract, but that's another discussion for another show.
Now, titles is another issue.
Okay.
I'm this, you that,
Yeah.
this one is that. That brings about the confusion and the division. Okay? So God has nothing to do with that. What you call yourself is irrelevant. Naturally, how you live naturally is what God created. So the titles, denominations, and all of that is man-made.
Okay, very good. Let's go a step further. Expand a little bit more on how African Americans became Christians.
Actually,
were we fooled, duped, indoctrinated, beat down with the whip?
That and a lot more.
Okay.
Okay, that was the end play of our inferior complex. I'm gonna put it on us. Our inferior complex represent the end result of all those things you just mentioned.
Okay.
Okay, but hundreds, if not thousands of years of misinterpretation and ignorance of those who did research and the so-called learned men of old, in their ignorance of interpreting doctrine, resulted in Africans, people whose skin is 10 times blacker than ours, okay, becoming subjected to a cruel and inhumane concept of a being. And in some cases, determined and defined as inhuman, period. Okay?
Yeah.
Which brought about the slave era as we know it in America.
Yeah.
Okay? This cruel, inhuman, calculated way of breaking a human being down to suck human standards.
Yeah.
Then indoctrinating that human being with a servitude mentality. In other words, a mentality that only wants to serve a higher being, not God, a higher human being.
Right, and the slave master being that
higher human being in that subject's mind.
Yes.
Which I call the imaginary white man acting and working today to keep that mentality alive and well. Okay, so the thing about it is we have to break those chains. Okay, now Almighty God has been among us all the time. God has never been absent in our being, in our existence.
Omnipresent.
Okay? Omnipresent. Okay. You see? So,
yes, sir.
So we don't have a problem with God because God was the one that raised us from point 1 or point A to point DZ or wherever we want to go.
Okay.
Okay. It hasn't been the academic community.
Right.
It hasn't been the social community. None of those communities were alive and well during those heydays of prejudice and hatred. Okay? Our natural minds, which is God's mind, our natural minds cause us to survive and make it to where we are today.
Okay, now you mentioned the heyday of these atrocities. Are you saying that it was much worse and detrimental of an atrocity at that time than it is today? It's not as devastating, all of these negatives we're talking about.
Physically, it was much more devastating.
Okay.
A 12-year-old could tell a black man, a 12-year-old Caucasian boy can tell a black man, stand there and take his belt off and beat him.
Right. And at this time of the day, we'd still be in the field picking, chopping cotton and looking around for the imaginary white man.
Absolutely.
That's okay. So
now,
listen, go ahead, because I want to go to another question. Go ahead.
Yeah, but today, that physical presence isn't there, but that psychological presence is well and alive.
Right. And these things we have to examine, critique, develop a keen sense of insight if we want to continue to go forward in growth and development. But here's a book here by Houston Smith, The Religions of Man. I'm going to move quickly. And in Africa, I'm going to specifically say Nigeria, there are two major religions, Yoruba and Igbo. And this guy here speaks of Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism. He speaks of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity is the last one. And I can think of some more that are not listed.
Yes.
Jainism, that are not even listed in the Baha'i faith, that come out of India, that are not even listed. So, would it say something about honorable men who are open-minded and examine, as far as they can examine, all of religion and draw a sensible conclusion?
I mean, yes. If these men are scientific thinking people,
yes,
of course, that'd be great. But among African Americans, we haven't had that study. Okay, so I think.
But are we getting there? We haven't had that study, but are we?
I think we're afraid. We are actually, from a broad sense, we're afraid to touch the subject. Because
due to what we
touching,
might find.
due
We might
to,
find the truth.
yes, and due to the punishment we might get, we might lose our big house, our car,
Well,
you know, job, we may lose
you know,
a lot of things.
the preacher might lose his big church.
Might lose anything if he try to touch on devil into that environment. You know?
If he delved into that environment,
Yeah.
they say, "Ow! Look what I found!"
We don't want to go there. We want the status quo. We want to stay. We want things to stay as they are.
Yeah.
But in reality, because of what the world has done to us, not
Okay.
just America, the whole world
Yeah.
has done to the black-skinned people,
Yeah.
kinky-haired people.
Yeah.
We can create whatever religion we want.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I can. We should just one day say, well, no, I'm through with all of that. I'm just gonna believe in openness.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
You know,
Because that doesn't work.
the rest
So
of
whatever I believe in now,
Christianity
I'm
had
gonna roll
worked
with it.
for us.
Right. I'm gonna roll with it.
Okay. Islam in America is brand new. Okay. After 50 years, we're still not productive. After reading the Quran every year for 40 years, we're still unproductive.
Yeah,
So-
and you know what? When you look at Al-Islam, you see those different sects also.
Sure.
You see the Sharia, they're kind of
Sharia,
famous
yeah.
in the news media, controlling things. Well, this is what, you know, I take the news media with a grain of salt. But they talk about the hadith and all these different things. And they have some debates going on about what the prophet said, what the prophet didn't say, and you know.
That's why Al-Islam, see, there's a difference between Muslim and Al-Islam.
Okay.
Two big difference.
Okay.
The Muslim is a person,
Yeah.
is a man or woman.
Yeah.
Al-Islam is defined as the natural way.
Okay.
Okay. So when you come to Al-Islam, you're saying, okay, my religion is the natural way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It doesn't take much interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the bird, you see how to do it. Look at the trees.
Yeah.
You look at everything else, the stars, and all, you'll see how to do it.
Yeah, actually,
But when it comes to the Muslim,
Mhm.
they might do anything.
I understand.
Because
But
these are
actually,
people.
Yeah. Actually, I've taken a look at some of those things you just mentioned. I don't profess to a particular religion, but
Right.
you know, the Native American, it is said that the 6 species in Africa, they left Africa and populated the earth. So the native at some point walked back across the Bering Strait, but they were more in line, as I see it, with in terms of religion, with nature and that whole spectrum of things, and then the Thomas Jefferson of the world, and the almighty white man in his mind forced religion on those who remained, those who were left.
Yes.
You see,
Yeah.
so.
Go ahead, bro.
Well, I tell you what. Here's what we'll do. We're almost out of time. I want to put one question in there, and you take those the comments you've got now, and expound on this question here. Is the Bible a book that is comprised of many books?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Biblos.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, the Bible.
Close us out.
Yes, the Bible is a book that is comprised of many books, and many of those natural original books are not in the Bible
Right.
today.
Like 2. I can think of
Yeah.
Jubilee and Numbers.
Yeah, Barnabas is
And
another.
Barnabas, right.
Yes.
So that's
several
3
books
okay.
that are not in the compiled book
So that
of
tells
the Bible right
that speaks
now.
volumes, doesn't it?
Well, it actually says that you can't get a complete picture. You know, you just can't get a complete picture. You
Great
can
comment.
get a picture, but you
But
can't
not a
get
complete picture.
Not a complete
Great
picture.
comment.
Okay. But our thing as Black Americans, you know, having experienced all of the ugliness that you can experience in any society, I don't think there has ever been any human beings on earth that live under the conditions that the American black people have
Or
lived.
who could have survived?
Right.
Right.
No.
Now-
So that lets you know God is in the mix.
Right now, if any people, persons, or group of people should come together and work together, it ought to be whatever you want to call it—the black man,
Yes.
the African man,
Yes.
the African American, the Kemet, the Nubian, the Nubala, whatever you want to call it.
Kush.
Yeah, Kush, Ethiopian,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
You know,
he should look at that and say, wait a minute, man, look at this.
But you know what I found out? I found something that's very important. I found out that if you ask any black person in America, what do we need? They're going to say we need unity. But nobody acts on it.
Right.
You can ask a small child, what are we lacking? They'll say, we lacking unity. But we won't act on it.
Okay.
And I hear conversations every day, throughout the day, every week, every month, about black people just are not unified. We can't get together. But nobody will work on it.
Thank you for coming in, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you, and thank you, audience.
Yes, sir.